Hello everyone, welcome to Urbanscape Bangalore, and in this episode we will be talking about the Senecio rollianus, which is also called the string of pearls, and along with it we will also look at the string of beads, or otherwise called the Senecio herrerianus. In this episode we will talk about its care and also touch upon the differences between the two plants that belong to the same family as the blue chalkstick succulent. These are natives of Southwest Africa. They are perennial shade-loving trailing plants that have these succulent parts that are round in shape in the case of the pearls, and in the case of the beads, they almost look like oval rugby balls. They also give out these pom-pom shaped blooms because they belong to the Asteraceae family, to which the daisies also belong. They have compound flowers which are known to have a spicy smell, but I honestly did not get any such smell from the flower. If you remove the flowers, you would see seeds at the end of these bristles. I'm not sure whether the seeds are the right way to go while propagating this plant, but I will try it nonetheless, and if it works, I will update you soon. Though it looks pea-like, it is definitely not edible and it is very toxic. The stem is trailing and the leaves store water because they live in dry desert-like regions. Another striking thing about this plant is that it has this translucent structure called the epidermal window, which allows the entry of sunlight even if the leaves are submerged in the soil, thereby helping it with photosynthesis. Now let us look at what should be done to repot this plant once you get it from the nursery. The string of pearls and beads require the same care conditions, so I will be repotting the string of pearls that I had purchased long ago from Lalbagh. So the plant came in this small container and I went in for a slightly bigger container which had holes, and I covered it with this cloth bag so that the soil is retained whilst allowing the free drainage of water. For the potting mix, I'm using a well-draining mix of sand and compost of 50:50 ratio. This plant will do well with some organic matter in it. That is why I've chosen to use 50% compost. Now this is where you need to be careful while removing the plant from the container. Since the plant does not have very deep root system, few amounts of old soil medium would cling on to the plant. Do not do anything to disturb this soil by teasing the roots, etc. This is quite sensitive that way if the roots are damaged or disturbed. Now while repotting this into the new container, make sure you maintain the same level as it was in the earlier container. Sowing this deep inside will cause the plant to rot. You can top dress it with some additional compost. Avoid using a lot of garden soil or coco peat because it has a tendency to hold more water, which these succulents don't like. By adding few drops of seaweed solution in water, you can provide this that initial boost of nutrients. Keep this in a sunny location where it receives part sunlight conditions and is preferably kept away from the rain. Now let me tell you some mistakes I made while growing this plant. I used a bigger container for the repotting, which was a bad idea because the bigger the container, the more would be the soil area, and this plant did not like it because it had a lot of water to absorb. So what was happening is that it was probably struggling to stay afloat and was not growing at all. It was the same size for more than a month and a half. And since it was kept outdoors and it was exposed to rain as well, I noticed that the soil was getting too wet, and then I decided that I would add some more plants into this container. Hence I added this string of beads and this echeveria. And after that is when it even started putting out new growth, and it's trailing really well, putting out flowers to my surprise. So as gardeners, we need to be keen observers and see for signs of distress in our plants and take punitive action so that you don't lose your precious plants. If you want, you can grow this in containers that have tropical plants that would soak up more water if you end up watering this a little too much. But for some reason, the string of beads is growing much more vigorously than the string of pearls, which is more fussy, I believe, because it sheds its leaves very quickly and becomes stringy. But look at the beads, they are growing so well and even spreading through the soil. One more thing about the string of pearl is that it trails more quickly than it would cover up the soil surface entirely. So depending on your liking, you could either get the beads or the pearls, but I love them both. So let us quickly look at the growing conditions of this plant. Sunlight. This loves bright partial sunlight and must be protected from direct sunlight. If it receives very less sunlight, the leaves will drop and the plant will become leggy. Watering, this plant does not tolerate overwatering at all because as you can see, the leaves have water stored in them, and the more water you add, the more susceptible it would be to rotting. So water this when you see the soil becoming dry. But the best way to grow this will be in conjunction with other plants so that if there is any excess water, the other plants can soak it up. Fertilizer. You can add seaweed fertilizer once every 2 months, but I prefer adding compost every month or once every 2 months. Potting mix, as I've mentioned earlier, must be well draining so that even if you inadvertently overwater the plant, the soil would soak up much less water and facilitate better drainage. Humidity. Like the other succulents, this also likes a dry environment, so hold on to that spraying can of yours. This isn't going to take any of it. This can be propagated much more easily with cuttings. A detailed video on its propagation will be coming soon. There is a lot of speculation on whether this can be grown indoors. I believe this grows much better when grown outdoors than indoors, but that does not mean it cannot be grown indoors at all, provided it is grown near a southwest window where it gets ample indirect sunlight and watering is looked into. But if you ask me, this can be grown in a patio or a balcony much more easily than indoors. So with this, we have come to the end of yet another episode of Urbanscape Bangalore, and if you like this video, then please like, share and subscribe. Also, do not forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. The links are given below. Thank you for watching, and until we meet again, a very warm goodbye.